This is take two. For those of you who are here just a few minutes ago, yes, I did have an eyelash in my eye and I've definitely got rid of it now. So it's a bit of a moment. So yes, it's day 3 of my week of lives this week. And we've gone through mindfulness in motherhood, and we've gone through dealing with overwhelm, which was yesterday. And today is all about connecting to the self, which is a huge subject in motherhood. I think most of us go through that sense of loss of self and that sense of grief for our old lives, or wondering who we are now. So this all comes under a term called matrescence, which is the term used for the becoming of a mother. And the reason why I love this subject so much is because it's directly impacted who I am and really is the main core of what I do now. So a couple of, 4 years ago, nearly 4 years ago, when I gave birth to my child, I had quite a bad experience with the becoming of a mother. I went through all the feelings, all the emotions. I'm going to go through this on a different thread because I think it will take up most of the time now, and we don't need to go there quite yet. But it was a very, very challenging time in my life. I then had a bit of a breakdown, about 10 months. And then 2 months later from that, I started to change my life. And I took a whole year of self-discovery, figuring out who I was. I tapped back into yoga, nutritional therapy. I'm an occupational therapist by trade. So I started to really use all the tools and techniques that I would use for somebody else as an occupational therapist, but for myself. So one of those things was really learning to connect back into who I am, and really figuring that out through purposeful and meaningful activity, which is one of the cores of occupational therapy. So yes, my business was really born out from my own postnatal recovery and self-discovery process. So through that turbulent year, I can't say these words now, it really became quite obvious to me that that level of postnatal support in a very holistic way. OT is very holistic by practice. It considers the person as a whole. So after you have your baby, there's a really big amount of effort and attention and thought and learning about the baby. Everything's about the baby. How much does your baby weigh? What's your baby wearing? How was your birth is one which is good, because we do need to talk about that. And there might be a couple of times with postnatally that someone from a professional body might ask you how you're doing. But there isn't really anything there to support mums that's very obvious through their well-being. Luckily, there are things out there at the moment. One of those included is the work that I do, but it's really to support a mum postnatally to really tap into that self-discovery process and really learn to recover from the process of giving birth, and also looking into that transition of becoming a woman, with becoming a mother, with the grace and compassion and understanding that it really, really, really deserves. So this is a huge subject for me. It's basically the backbone of my business, and the reason why I'm doing everything that I'm doing is because I feel that there is more holistic wellbeing support for mums that's needed. So I'm just going to drink some water. Just excuse me. So yes, for those of you who don't know me yet, that is actually my main profession. And I started training about 11 years ago and have 7 years solid work on occupational therapy, including building up in-house occupational therapy businesses and, employing staff and things like that. So occupational therapy is a bit of a term which lots of people do and don't know, but there's many, many people who haven't really heard much about occupational therapy. It's not as common as doctors and nurses, obviously, and your physiotherapists. And most people used to ask me, are you a physiotherapist? And I would say, no, I'm an occupational therapist. Oh, occupational health. No, occupational therapy. So it's a bit of a joke, really, and in the OT field, that no one really knows what we do or who we are. Which makes it a bit challenging to constantly try to explain it. But, I think the more that we do it, the more people are going to understand the incredible benefits of OT and how that can basically help you at any point in your life or whatever you're going through. But I'll admit it, I didn't really understand what OT was either until I started studying it about 11 years ago. So, yeah, there was many reasons why I fell in love with occupational therapy, and lots of reasons why it's the absolute best occupation for me. So the term occupation, I just want to go through that just briefly. So what we'll do actually before we go any further is I'll let you know what's going to happen over the next sort of 20 minutes is that I'm going to talk to you a little bit about occupational therapy and the becoming of a mother. Then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the 3 transitional stages that we go through transition. So we can absolutely reflect upon this throughout our transition to becoming a mum. And then I'm going to give you some really lovely little techniques at the end, which are going to help you to really reconnect with who you are, who are going to help you to tap into who you are as a woman and really acknowledge that. And really look into the mother that who you are. So we're going to have a little bit of work around that towards the end. So I'll just talk to you a bit about the occupational side of things first, because then I think it's just going to make a lot more sense. And the main thing is that you understand what's going on. So occupation is what makes up a person's role. So it's who we are and it's what we do. It's our habits, it's our routines, and it's our beliefs, and it's our values in life. Motherhood is one of the most profound occupational occupations you'll ever experience. Becoming a mum is more than just caring for your baby. It's about you, and it's about your identity shifting as your role, as you knew it, starts to change and it starts to morph. That doesn't happen overnight. This does happen over time. So I think one of the things, I won't digress too much, but I think one of the things is why it can potentially be so challenging for us is because this isn't really talked about. It's not really widely discussed about the transition of becoming a mother. So yeah, the transition of becoming a mum is the biggest adjustment of your life, and it does require vast amounts of compassion and vast amounts of gentle, kind nurture, which is just so important, because this is the kind of approach that's going to help you to reduce and minimize that mum guilt, to reduce and minimize that worry and that panic. Are we doing things right? Or like worrying that you're becoming ill because you have some low dips in your emotion. So I'll go on to that again in a minute as well. And motherhood changes us, doesn't it? And we'll never really be the same, but that's not a bad thing. But yeah, the thing is, you might not feel like that at the beginning. And I think at the beginning of learning to become a mum, some people jump into this and it's, the best thing that's ever happened, and their hormones are firing off everywhere and everything's working really well. And, they're really bonding with themselves and their baby. And that's incredible. And there are some of us who don't, and that is really normal. And that is something that I really want to stress today, is that instant bond with a child, that instant understanding of who we are, that's normal not to have that, because depending on what happens in your birth, it depends on how many drugs you've had during your birth, that really dampens the organic hormones that are going to be running through your body. So it's very normal to feel those kind of feels. So, but in time, you do get to develop a deeper sense of connection with yourself and with the world around you. Now, that can happen naturally. And if you're like me, you might need to put in some strategies in place to enhance that and to help that really come on forward for you. So the things that happen as a new mum, you're likely to experience things like loneliness, things like isolation, things like fear, loss of self, that anxiety, and those heightened emotions which are going everywhere. Lack of sleep. I mean, that's the biggest thing, I think, for mums, isn't it? Because obviously when we're not sleeping, we're not functioning. When we're not sleeping, our emotions are everywhere. When we're not sleeping, our diets are everywhere. So there's some more things to come into play with that. So that's going to really affect our worry and our brain fog as well. And what happens when we go into a really gorgeous deep sleep is our brain, it produces this cleaning fluid. I'm going to move the camera angle because it's really distracting where I am on the, there we go, that's better. Yeah, so at night time, when we have that really gorgeous restful sleep, deep sleep, our brains produce this cleaning fluid, runs through our neurological pathways, and it clears everything out for us, which is why when we wake up after a good sleep, we feel great most of the time. And that's a big impact when we don't sleep, or it's very, very interrupted sleep when we're, I would say new mums, but to be honest, it took me a good year and a half to get any kind of level of decent sleep. Yeah, so there's so much going on for us, isn't there? And these are really all normal experiences related to matrescence. There's another thing here that I just want to mention, which is absolutely brilliant. If you've not come across him, his name is Dr. Oscar Shrelak. I think that's how you pronounce his name. And he has come up with a book called The Postnatal Depletion Cure. And it's usually hanging around my desk, but it's probably actually by my bed because I have been reading it more recently. That is a fantastic book. I'll put a link up to the talk as well. So postnatal depletion, yes, I think I'm going to leave that for the moment as a little prod to go and have a little read of that book, because it really is fantastic, and it really takes into account, it's very OT, really takes into account the whole of the person. So matrescence is also a term that actually dates back to the 1970s, and it was coined by a lady called Dinah Raphael, who also coined the term doula. Doula is a really popular word right now. It's a term, business. It's absolutely, it's really, really spread out over the last few years, which is fantastic, because the work that a doula does and the support that a doula brings is just phenomenal. I know I'm blessed to know lots of doulas. I was blessed to have a doula at my birth as well, and honestly, she was the string that held everything together. But still, the term matrescence is rarely used, and therefore we're not really understanding of the transition in a way that really nurtures and supports a new mum holistically, with the focus really shifted onto her. Enter occupational therapy, because that's what we do. It's all about the person as a whole and their whole well-being, and making sure they're at optimal function so that the rest of their lives can work in the way that they want to. So I hope that brings some level of understanding, and I hope that just kind of makes sense to everybody. I will be going deeper into that throughout different lives as well, and I talk heavily about that when I work with my clients also. So it's a big subject, so it does deserve a lot of time. So we're just touching up on it this evening. So yes, now we're going to talk about the 3 stages of transition, which I feel is a really important thing to understand as we're learning to become mums. So this can be a really useful tool for reflection and awareness of your transition. So this is the 3 stages of transition as explained by Professor of Occupational Therapy, Gary Kielhofner. He is amazing. He's one of the leaders in OT, and a huge amount of theory and practice is based upon his teachings. He really is quite fantastic. So he really explains this transition in 3 ways, which I find really interesting and could easily relate to. So I wanted to talk to you guys about this. And again, I'm just going to go over the main points, because I think we could go down a rabbit hole here. And actually, we might end up going down a rabbit hole another time, and with slides and pretty things. But at the moment, I'm just going to be talking to you about it. So the first stage of transition is exploration. So this is where we are learning our new capacities, our preferences and values. Like, what did you used to like or prefer? And do these often change as well? And how you view the world, and looking at your extra needs. So this is a stage when we explore and learning a new task. So it's how to do things differently, like basic activities of daily living, like going to the toilet with a baby, and cooking one-handed, and going to the shops, and making a phone call, and washing your face, and brushing your teeth. We're all at the beginning stage of transition. We're all learning about that, aren't we? The exploration of how we're going to be doing things physically, mentally, emotionally. So we're also making a role change here and experiencing new meaning for us. That was a big one for me massive, massive, massive new meaning of life. The whole thing just kind of blew up in my mind. So, we're exploring who this new mum character is and what this means to you, and also who she's yet to become. So it's like exploring the unknown, but with fresh eyes, and it's kind of like uncharted territory. So again, we're still in the exploratory stage. We're discovering new ways to do things. We're exploring our environment, placement of objects, one-handed again, baby strapped to you, all this kind of stuff. We're really discovering what all that kind of stuff is. And then they've got the resources and opportunities in the environment are critical. And I know that at the moment we have a big global pandemic going on, so things are kind of a little bit more shaken up, and we are quite likely not to have the resources that we would have normally have had. So we're looking at family support, adaptation of environment is quite a big thing. Location of where you are, like your social influences and things like that. So those are all resources of opportunities within your environment. And yeah, we're exploring your needs and boundaries as a new mother as well. And we're just going to really touch up really quickly on the layout of living. So this is even just little things like the access to your toilet easily. Can you move around your kitchen with your child safely? Are there areas which could be dangerous? Things like that. So this is all in the very beginning, first stage number one, the exploratory stage. So you take on so much at this stage, and it's all new and it's all different, and you're forced to learn really, really, really quickly, and often with difficulties, and that's when this stage can really induce anxiety. That's when this stage can really bring on that level of stress and worry and overwhelm, because you've most likely started your journey into becoming a mum exhausted. Yes, and the thing is about this stage also is that it does have the potential to create a negative belief that later on is really hard to shift. So at this very beginning stage, it's really important to be nourishing our well-being. And again, I would have a look at that postnatal depletion cure book as well, because that really taps into this first stage. So the next stage here is competency. So we're looking at like solidifying the new ways of doing, which we've explored in the last stage. So we're getting quite used to, some of the things that we've changed, and some of the new sort of rhythms and routines and habits. And we know we're solidifying, our knowledge of that. So we're continuing to try and meet the demands and of the improvement of ourselves. And that is what's also going on for us, is that we're constantly trying to do something better, or make it work, or get more sleep, or trying to make the child happy, or whatever. We're always trying to improve the way that we are as human beings. The thing is, as humans, we have this desire to achieve more and do better, which isn't a bad thing, because we that's how we move forward in life, isn't it? So we seek out opportunities to do this. But also, that's where people can become trapped in the I'm not good enough mindset, which is what we really want to avoid, because you are more than good enough. No matter what you do in motherhood, you are good enough. So just have a little look here about like adjusting to the environmental demands, developing new skills, you're organising your skills and your habits to support your performance. So what that means is that you're rearranging kind of what you do, and how things that you're really good at, to enhance your performance of what you do, because we have that need to succeed and feel good about ourselves, and to be achieving in that way. So let's just go on to the final stage then, which is achievement. So this is a stage when your new skills and habits really enable you to participate in your new role. So that's where you can really start to get involved and feel really good about what you're doing as a mum. So whether that's socially, environmentally, so everyday tasks like brushing your teeth and making a cup of tea and organising your day, is that you feel like you can start to achieve that, because you've solidified in the last part of the transition, and you've explored it in the first part of the transition. So yes, I hope that kind of explains a little bit about the transitional stages. So everyone's really different, and everyone is going to experience heightened versions within all three stages. So those stages were, I'll just really quickly tell you, because I am aware that I've been rabbiting on for some time now. So it's exploration. So it's all about the discovery and the learning and the figuring that kind of stuff out. Then it's competency, and that's all about solidifying what we've done and adjusting to our new roles and organizing our space and our emotional and psychological well-being to adjust to that. And then it's the achievement stage, which is, you know, where you are feeling like you have your new rhythm and your new role. So that doesn't happen overnight. That does take time, and that is it's a stage of the transition. So I'm going to tell you a couple of activities now, which I really hope are going to help you to tune into who you are and to start to really build up your positive thought process, so that can then start to become habit. And we start to like eliminate the negative thought process in there. So I know I've already talked about this, but we're just going to touch over again with journaling. So we talked about morning pages in day one, and that was all about scribbling things that are out of your mind. So we're just going to talk a little bit about actual questions to ask yourself here, which are going to really support you to reconnect with who you are now. So here are some journal prompts for you. What has becoming a mother meant for you? I will put all these up as well, so don't worry about that. And what do you feel about your mother self? What areas of being a mum do you feel are challenging? And what, if any, obstacles come up for you on reflection now as your new role as a mum? And do you feel there's anything preventing you from being the mum, the woman that you want to be? And do you find that motherhood affects your daily living? So sometimes the reason why we go through these kind of questions is sometimes there can be negative beliefs lurking around in the background, and it's really important to address those so that we can heal with those, and so that we can turn those around into positive and move forward with compassion and positivity. So your subconscious mind can manifest these in other ways also, but by addressing them now, that's then going to help you to move forward. So as always, promoting positive maternal mental health, we want to instill loads of gorgeous, nourishing thoughts for your precious mind. We don't want to have those negative thoughts lurking around in the background. We want to change those and swap them into positives for you. So let's just go over some affirmations, and affirmations are amazing for this. And the more that you reinforce the positive affirmations, either out loud if you can, or in your mind, that doesn't matter, as long as you're feeling that, you are strengthening your belief system. So with regular practice, this then becomes a habit, and that will be strengthening your subconscious mind, broadening your self-worth, and helping to regulate your emotions. So here's a few. I'll tell you a few now, but please feel free to make up your own. These might not fit well for you, so let's make up your own. And I'll just go through 5 here, or maybe 6. So first one is, my body is incredible. My mind has the ability to adapt perfectly, to learn new ways of doing and thinking, to help me to grow and flourish as a strong, grounded and confident woman. I'm fully able to heal old wounds. I can choose to think and feel the way that I want to. I have created life within my body, and this brings me inner lasting power and strength. I am not lost, and I look forward to discovering my mother self. Most importantly, I do not fail, I learn, and I'm learning every single day with my child. So those may or may not respond well to you. Pick your own, that's absolutely fine. But the point is that we're finding sentences, terms, words that mean something to us and that are going to really help that reconnecting back to you and what your values are and who you are. Okay, so I'm going to leave with those 2 for now, and I'm going to come back on another day because there is more that I would like to talk to you about this. But I fear I am going to go down a rabbit hole. So I'm going to come back to you another day, and we are going to look more about ways that you can start to reconnect when you tune in with who you are now. So I really, really hope that you have found this useful, and I really hope that you are able to take on some of these little activities and work forward with them. And yes, if you would like to join me tomorrow, that would be fantastic.